Assalamualaikum students, this is Farwa Batul, your O-level computer science instructor, and welcome to another video. Since we are doing activity 8.5 and we have already done this activity using Python as my programming language, here in this video I'm gonna do this activity by using Visual Basic, that is another high-level programming language that your book is choosing. So actually there are three options for you: Python, Visual Basic, and Java. So we will be doing all of them one by one. So here we are talking about Visual Basic. Let's just quickly see what is the activity about. In the high level programming language that your school has chosen to use, write and run a short program to input a number and check if the number is equal to 1, 2, 3, or 4 using the case construct or alternative where appropriate. Okay, now what you have to do, we have already seen the case statements. Case statements are basically used for selection between different options. When you have more than two options, then you are using case statements. It will be very easy to cater the case statements. How we can do that? In the activity, what actually is to be done, there is a user that is going to input a number to the system. He is giving us a number, and what we have to check, we have to check that with what number he has entered here, whether the number is equal to 1, 2, 3, or 4. How it is useful? It is useful because let's look at this from other perspective. Let's suppose there are four different options. If the user selects one, he has to go to somewhere else. If the user selects two, he will be doing something else. If the user selects three, he will be doing something, the program will be doing something else. There are four different ways of going through the program. So it means that it is going to be very useful when a user has to select out of four options, that what option he has to go in the program, or what thing he has to do out of these four options. Either he has to do, let's take it as operators, he has to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or he has to, let's just translate something for the user. There are some applications that allows the translation. So for number one, let's say it's English, the a paragraph will be translated in English, then in, let's suppose, Urdu, then in Persian, and let's suppose some other language, Arabic. So these are basically the four different options that the user must have to select one out of it, depends upon his choice. Okay, so how we can say that the user has selected one, or the user has selected two, or the user has selected three, or the user has selected four. Let me just quickly tell you that how we can do this activity in Visual Basic. I have the code below. So look over here. Okay, this is the code for Visual Basic. Let me just quickly explain you this one by one. The first thing over here, if you can see, is dim. Dim is for dimension. Number is basically the name of the variable where you have to store the input value. As integer, the data type is integer. Integer means that this number is going to be either positive or negative or zero, but it must be a whole number with no fractional part. So yes, first of all, we made a variable named as number and it's integer as a data type. Next, console.write is basically your output statement that shows the message to the user. And the message here is, please enter a number. So this is first message on the screen of the user that will be displayed. Please enter a number. Once the user is going to see this message, he's definitely going to enter something. Let's suppose he enter 54. Now what will happen in the next statement? Number is your variable equals. It means something is going in the number. Integer dot parse, that is your data parsing, that is used because the input by default is a string. So you have to convert this value from a string to integer so that you can apply different comparison operators and different arithmetic of operators if it is an integer, but on a string you cannot do so. So that's why integer.parse is written here, and inside the bracket you can see that console.readline is your input statement that is going to read the input that is being entered by the user. So how it goes, first console.readline is going to execute, which will take the input from the user. Next, the input is going to be parsed using integer.parse method. That's a method that is going to convert that string value into integer. And once it is converted, now the final thing is 54 is going to be stored in the variable number. So we can just do like this, 54 will be stored here in number variable. Now the next thing you can see that we are starting with our select case. It is the selection. So we are using the select keyword, and along with that it is, since it is case statement, so we are using the case keyword. This is how we write this in Visual Basic. Next, what actually you have to check, the variable value that you have to check must be written next to case. Now, there will be different cases according to our activity. There are 4 different cases. So we have mentioned them one by one. First, the case keyword is very important. Every time if you are adding a case into your case statement, you have to initialize with a case keyword. Next, you have to put the values that you assume the number can be. The number can have a value 1, so we will check for 1. If this becomes true, if the first condition says that if the value of the number equals 1, then what will happen? Console.write, you are going to display a message to the user that you entered 1. You can hear, you can be doing anything, depends upon the user's choice and depends upon your program, depends upon the options that you are giving to the user. You have 4 different things to do in your program. So if the user selects 1, I just kept it simple. I will just display a message showing user that you entered 1. Okay, let's suppose the user has entered 2. So in the second case becomes true and the first case becomes false, because remember that in case statements only one of these cases must be true, not all of them can become true. Okay, so this time case 2 is true, so user will see you entered 2. And in the next case, if case 3 is true, it means that the value entered is 3. Then it will be displayed you entered 3. And if the value of number is 4 that is entered, then it is written you entered 4. So I hope that you are getting the point that whatever is the selection of the user, the particular number will be printed on the screen. I'm again repeating that there can be some other work that you can do, depends upon the scheme of your work. Case else. What is case else? Case else is basically when you are not basically having any of these values entered by the user. The user didn't enter 1, 2, 3, 4. He didn't enter any of these options. He has entered something else. That's why we are writing case else. And inside that, I can just simply display a message that you didn't find you didn't enter the appropriate option, or we can say that it is an invalid choice or invalid number. Here I have displayed to the user. So the user must know that whether maybe he did some mistake. So it's an invalid number or invalid selection. Next, You have to use this end select keyword in order to end your case statement. This is very, very important when you are doing Visual Basic. You must end the case statement, and same goes with if then else also. In if then else, we have seen that we must end that using the keyword and if. Okay, now what I will be doing, I'm going to show you that how we can do this in a Visual Basic editor. So I'm just going to use an online editor for that. Okay, so here we go. You can simply see that this is the case that is being used in Visual Basic. I'm just using any of the editor. You can go to the Google, you can select for Visual Basic editors, and there will be a lot of options for you. You can just open any one. I'm just using Online VB Compiler, and then here I have written all of my line of code that I just explained to you. First one is you have declared a variable number as integer, then you have displayed a message, please enter a number, then you have taken the input and stored it in number variable. Next, you started with your case, select case, and you have mentioned all these four different options: case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, and depends upon the choice the user is going to see the message whether he has entered 1, 2, 3, 4, and whether he didn't enter any of these numbers, so it will be case else and showing the user that it is invalid number. Let me quickly run this program. Look at the run button at the top. Let's run this. Now you can see down here, please enter a number. So let's suppose I enter 1 and then I press enter. You can see that the output message is you entered 1. So that is your result. Now let me just quickly do it again for 2. Let's just run it 4 times. This time I'm entering 2 and then enter. You entered 2. Then you will run again. Number 3. You entered 3. So this is how you can select any of these numbers, or you can choose your own choice. You entered 4, and then let's suppose it is case else. Case else means, let's suppose I have entered an option that is not valid. Enter. Invalid number. So this is how it works. Thank you so much for watching this video. In the next video, I will be doing this activity in Java as my programming language. Stay tuned, stay connected, and do not forget to subscribe the channel. Bye bye.